Yeah, chill, for sure.
Select your hero.
What's your opinion on DeFran? I think he got what he deserved, but only because he's a pro player. Like, if he wasn't a pro player, I wouldn't give a shit. But when you have sponsorships and you're representing an organization like Selfless, you know, you wear a jersey with a whole bunch of like logos on it and brand names. You can't act like that because you're not just representing yourself. But in terms of ethics, I really don't give a shit if someone throws. It's just a video game. I don't care. What's going on, YouTube? I'm back, and today I'm bringing you a game on Temple of Anubis, or Temple of Draw Anubis. That doesn't make sense. Anyways, it's a 2CP map, aka Cancer, and everyone hates 2CP maps, but fun fact for you guys, I don't hate 2CP maps as much as the rest of the community does. For example, Hanamura is one of my most favorite maps in Overwatch. I always seem to do pretty well on it, and aesthetically it's beautiful. And you know, when I think of Overwatch, I think of Hanamura. And I also like control game maps a ton. A lot of players just think that payload is like the holy grail of Overwatch, and it is, don't get me wrong. Usually payload, the better teams win. 2CP can be a little bit more random, and control can be a little bit more random sometimes. But yeah, fun fact for you, I don't mind 2CP as much as everyone else, and I relish control game types. I'm sure if you guys watch some of my videos, you'll notice that a lot of my best games are played on control. One of this reasons being that Soldier 76 and Tracer are my mains. Just to move on to this match, in this game you notice we took the first point with relative ease, and one thing I wanted to touch on was a lot of the time if you lose the first team fight in that sort of fashion, a lot of players will just kind of quit and mail it in and assume that the first team fight is indicative of how the rest of the match is going to go. But nothing could be further from the truth, and I always say to my teammates and my friends that you never want to give anyone too much credit for a hot start. It's just as much them getting lucky with synergy as it is us being disorganized. I always say that to people, like, just because they won the first team fight in like 5 seconds doesn't mean that the rest of the game is going to go like that. A lot of the times when you win a team fight that easily, it's because 2 or 3 players in your team made a mistake all at the exact same time. And then that's how you see the results and the fruits of the happening. I've always refrained from playing Soldier 76 on this map, just because I always felt like Roadhog was better than him, if you're a good Roadhog, or Zarya is pretty good too, because you usually can get a decent amount of charge. But I went to the practice range before playing this game, and my shot was pretty on. I was feeling it, so I decided I would just stay Soldier 76 for the duration of this game. And another thing right now, if you guys do play Soldier 76, Soldier 76 in the current meta is pretty weak right now because you're going to get constantly dove by D.Va and Winston. You could see that I wasn't really being that effective here, and that's part of, you see what's happening right here? That right there is why Soldier 76 isn't strong in this current meta, because D.Va is just going to get in your face every single game, and it's going to be very frustrating for you. So I just kind of used that ultimate here, so I was going to switch to Tracer, or just try and create some space for my team. I don't know what my team's doing, man. So my teammate switches to Reinhardt here, and I decided I was going to stay Soldier 76 just because I felt like I was unkillable there, and you notice that I was running around pretty much doing whatever I wanted. But if I was struggling in the least or felt like I wasn't being effective, I would definitely have switched to Tracer, and I end up switching to Tracer on this map. And I think that their Winston isn't very good, and I don't think their D.Va is very good, because if you play Soldier 76 against Winston and D.Va, you should have to switch if they're doing their jobs. If you play D.Va or Winston, you should try and focus Soldier as much as you can, and just try and make them switch off Soldier. It could be at your own peril, though. I mean, because if you force someone to switch, then they're probably going to switch to something that counters you, and then the game goes round and round and round. But we have a Zarya now, we have a Reinhardt now, and we have me on Soldier. And unfortunately, my Ana dies here, and I think we end up going on to lose this, which is pretty unfortunate. But we got a lot of ults out of them, so it's sort of worth it in the long run. So I still felt like I was being effective there on Soldier, and a lot about being effective is your stats can't tell you if you're being effective, and your teammates definitely can't tell you if you're being effective. I'm sure you guys have been in a situation a million times where you're playing really well, and all of a sudden, for whatever reason, your team is flaming you.
Really?
Come on.
Now, how do you tell if you're being effective? I would say you have to have the game sense and awareness to know if the hero you're on is working. And I felt like Soldier 76 was working here. If you guys saw the gameplay, you could probably tell, other than my ultimates that were getting stuffed by D.Va, you could tell that I was staying alive and I was doing a lot of damage and I was being annoying for them. And they weren't really dealing with me in the way that they should have been. Those are usually signs that you're being effective. Usually gold medals can somewhat tell you if you're being effective. I mean, if you have 3 gold medals, you're definitely not the reason your team's losing. There's so many times where I play games in Overwatch and they get toxic. Where I'll say, like, I have 3 gold medals, like, blah, blah, blah. And people always say, like, medals don't mean anything. And they are partly true. But, of course, medals aren't everything. But if you have 3 gold medals, and I'm talking 3 gold medals, you're not the reason your team is losing. I mean, you might not be the reason your team is winning, but if you're going to point blame at someone, don't ever point it at the guy who has 3 medals. I mean, that's just ridiculous. There's players on your team that have silver and gold medals scattered across the board. So medals don't mean everything, but at the same time, they don't mean nothing either. And if you guys play Soldier 76 and you don't have 3 golds, you might want to look at switching, but always ask yourself, is my hero being effective? Because only you know. This is a cool spot that I like to start with Soldier 76 on this map that I recently started using, that little ledge up there. Unfortunately, I had to drop because my teammates were taking damage and I wasn't outputting any damage. So you never want to, if your teammates are taking a boatload of damage and you're not shooting anyone, you definitely want to start shooting something. I mean, their team's probably going to lose a team fight if you don't have damage going the other way. But that's a cool little ledge that I like to start on, because if the D.Va and the Winston dive in, it gives you kind of a couple seconds to analyze where you want to go and what you want to do, because they're not going to dive up there to get you. So they're going to dive onto your team, and then from there you have a good vantage point to lay down damage and also make a decision on what the enemy team is running in terms of their team composition, and what you can do to counter it, where you can be, how to take advantage of your positioning, without actually getting the Winston in your face, because as you guys know, once the Winston and D.Va is in your face, it's pretty hard to know what's going on. Basically at that point, you're just kind of hoping that you get healed. You're kind of hoping that you are able to do enough damage through headshots to stay alive. And I get dove here by a Winston who's nano boosted. That's unfortunate. So my team was able to win that team fight after that Winston dove me. I don't think it was very smart of that Winston to dive me, and I don't think this Winston is very good, to be honest. He doesn't really seem to know who to dive, and maybe that's because my team is putting too much pressure on him to make a good decision, but I don't know. Right here, I always try and use as many ults as I can to try and save the points. You never want to give them the first point for free, and it's kind of like in payload maps. Before they enter the second phase of the map, you want to use every ultimate you can. In moderation, of course. But it's always usually worth the risk to use your ultimate in that situation that you just saw, because you can't lose the point no matter what. It's too important, and once they capture the second point, then you're in danger of having a draw or having to take the second point yourself if you're the first team to attack. So it's always important, you guys, if you guys are about to lose the point, it's more, you want to build the habit of using your ultimate in that situation than being tentative with it in that situation.
Yo, what's up, Terminal? That is my name.
Always risk it. And my stream title the other day was, it's better to have ulted and have lost than to have never ulted at all. How many games have you lost in Overwatch when you don't use your ultimates, or your team doesn't use their ultimates, and you lose the match, even though your team is better, even though your team has been in control for a majority of the team skirmishes, and your team just doesn't press Q with enough confidence more aggressively, and you lose because of it. Now, I managed to stay alive here, and we managed to hold them, but when I was editing this video, I noticed that this is a really bad spot for me to stand. You see how I'm standing right here right now? This is not a good spot. I definitely should be moving, and I'm just kind of wasting my time sitting here. You see, because I'm giving them all the high ground. I end up switching, right? But you see how I'm not zoning anyone right now? I'm still hiding, and one of my teammate dies. I definitely should have been on this high ground sooner. So maybe I could have stopped one of my teammates from getting picked here, because we end up losing this team fight by a pretty small margin. I end up killing 3 of them there. It's unfortunate. So I'm not sure if any of you guys have been hanging out in my Twitch streams lately, but I'm sure some of you have heard me rant about how much I hate the current meta. I hate the current meta so much. This Diva Winston bullshit pisses me off so much. Just because I feel like it doesn't take very much skill to play Diva or Winston, and right now in the current meta, they are just so freaking strong, especially against the heroes I main. I play Soldier, and I play Genji, I play Tracer, I play Roadhog, and I play Zarya. All 4 of those heroes, not so much Tracer. Tracer's really good, but 3 of my mains are basically countered by this dive comp meta. Diva, Winston, and then obviously you put whoever you want for DPS into the team comp. But basically, Zarya is not very good in this current meta, because if you don't get charge on the first team fight, you're basically done, because you're gonna have to shoot through a Winston bubble with low charge, which takes forever. If you guys play a lot of Zarya, you'll know when you're low charge and you have to melt through a Winston bubble, it takes so long, and then your team is taking damage while you're trying to do that. And then on top of that, once you actually destroy the barrier, you have to melt through all of Winston's health pool, which is gigantic. And then he's probably just going to run away from you because you don't have that much range with Zarya. It's pretty short range when you use your left click. So for those reasons alone, Zarya's not that good right now. Also, Pharah is really strong in the current meta, and so is Tracer and Genji, who are probably going to keep their distance from you when you play Zarya. And then obviously Roadhog isn't that good against Diva Winston. He's good against Winston, but a good Diva is going to block every single one of Roadhog's hooks. So what do you do as a Soldier 76 main when you play against Winston Diva? And this is what I do in this match right here. You switch to Tracer. Tracer on defense in the past has gotten a lot of hate, and a lot of people think that it's like throwing, because she's like a high-speed flanker. And when you think about it, that's just not like conventional defense. Defense is more about like being consistent and zoning. But Tracer on defense is good because maybe some of you guys have played support against a defensive Tracer. No one helps you, I've noticed. I've noticed when I play Tracer on defense that when you go and harass their backline supports, no one ever peels for the supports. You basically just get free reign to just annoy their backline, and you'll see in this game what happens. See, because no one sees it coming. This Soldier, like, a Tracer on defense can be so freaking annoying.
Is my city, and if it weren't for Team 10, then the US would be shitty, because you know we stay litty.
And if you're going to lose the game, it's always fun to just kind of be a mad scientist and switch heroes. And I switched to Tracer here because I've lost to Tracers on defense. And this is why I think it works. Because especially on 2 CP maps, you're already stressed out because you're playing 2 CP. And you're already stressed out because it's so hard to even touch the point. And then once you get on the point, you have to capture the point. You have to kill the people who are respawning again and again and again. And then you have to have more ultimates than the other team so you can win that respawning fight, which is bullshit. Now, while all of that is going on, and you're trying to coordinate a good team push, it's very hard to focus a Tracer who's annoying your backline, because it puts the enemy team in a predicament. And not only does it put the enemy team in a predicament, it also is very hard to play Winston and Diva into Tracer, because you can't dive Tracer. If you dive Tracer, she's just going to run away. So right there, if you play against Winston and Diva and you're playing Soldier, just switch to Tracer on offense or defense, doesn't matter, and just start harassing their backline and being super annoying. Because most of the time, the enemy team is going to be focused on capturing the point, that they're just going to ignore you as Tracer, because you can't focus a Tracer and get point at the same time. So if you guys want to know what to play against Winston and Diva in this current meta, play Tracer on defense. It's super effective. It's super underrated. And I just want to say thank you guys so much for all the subs we've been gaining lately. And thanks for all the support. And if you enjoyed, please hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. It means a ton.